Hi, everyone. Today is Tuesday, January 14th, 2025. Welcome. I'm Jeffrey Morgan, and this is a talk I host twice a week to discuss my experiences on the path of soul transcendence. This offering is brought to you by the Movement of Spiritual Inner Awareness with the encouragement and support of John Morton, who holds the mystical traveler consciousness, which is the spiritual consciousness that allows us to do the work that we're doing here today. If you're new to the call, the format is simple. We're going to start by calling ourselves forward into the light, which is calling our awareness forward into the light of God that's already present. And then we're going to chant three Anai hues. Hue is an ancient name for God, and Anai invokes a quality of empathy and compassion. And then I'm going to play a video clip from my teacher, John Roger. And then I'm going to read a poem by a poet called Nirmala. And then we can talk about whatever you would like. So with that, Ron's actually under the weather today, so I'm gonna go ahead and call us forward into the light, and then we'll get going. So, Father, Mother, God, beloved, we call ourselves forward into your love and light and sound, asking for the light of the Holy Spirit and the light of the Christ to fill, surround, and protect this gathering and everyone here, so that only that which is for the highest good will take place. We ask for the presence of the mystical traveler in Christ consciousnesses. We ask for the clearing, that any karma or negativity that can be lifted be taken into the highest realms of light and dispersed into the nothingness from which it came. All that we do in the presence and under the guidance of the mystical traveler consciousness. And we ask that consciousness to be with us through this process, guiding and assisting us through each step of this experience. We ask for the grace of the Holy Spirit and the Christ to be extended to all those who may be suffering or may have experienced loss, that they may be comforted and healed and loved, that they may be remembered to the body of Christ within themselves. We ask for the quickening, that each cell and each molecule of our being vibrate at the frequency of the peace that surpasses understanding. That all that is not of that peace and of that truth that we are, we let it go freely, and we ask that grace be extended through our process of release. In all of this, we are so grateful to be gathered together as your beloveds. We're grateful for all the blessings that you bestow, knowing that the blessings already are. And we know that above all, your will is done. And for this, we do always give our thanks. Berush Beshan.
when you're going back through, you want to write down what you see and what you observe, because it's a wonderful journey back to what you've created. It's a wonderful journey. And let me say this as sort of like a soothing comment. On the way to God, all the garbage is scenery. And you have to look at a lot of your own garbage. And believe me, in here, things will come up for you that you'll just want to bolt for that door. When you bolt for that door, it's going to bolt right behind you. And it's going to follow you down the stairs in your car, and wherever you go to deal with it, you're going to distract yourself by something. And when you sit down, it's still going to be in there, ready for you to come back and deal. So I'd say, if it shows up here, deal. How do you deal? You just keep looking at it. You just observe it. You don't start having dialogue with it. You don't ask it, who are you? What are you? Why are you here? What are you doing? You just observe it. If it's real, it will take on its own attributes and communicate to you. But it will tell you things that you don't know. Don't believe it, but check it out. Because there's a lot of spiritual things can be told to you that you don't know. And because you don't know it, you think it's true because they told you something you don't know. You ever been told a lie and you didn't know it? Of course you have. Have you ever heard people lie about you and you wonder why they said that and people believed it? See, just because it's said, don't believe it. You have to find a way, a method inside of you where you're ready to use that as a validation against whatever appears. Chanting the tone against these objects. If they're imaginative of a lower nature, they'll start to disappear. And your thing here is, I'm going into whatever is called the heart of God. I don't even know what the hell that is, but that's where I'm going. And that's my intention, and I'm sending a telegraph to God by way of, if you're there, you know what I'm talking about, and that's what I want to do.
All right. This is a poem by a poet called Nirmala. Words do not come. There is no need for profound utterances or deep truths. There is an ordinary evening. Here is an ordinary evening. Why spoil it with dramatic overstatement? The silenced amidst the noise, the gem at the core of every experience, is polished by simple attention into shining magnificence. All right. What do you want to talk about today? Aaron,
Hey, Jeffrey.
hi.
Hey, everyone. Can you give some suggestions or keys about how to listen better?
Yeah, I can talk about what I've worked on in that area. I think the first thing that I discovered in my process of exploring listening, because I would say that growing up and throughout my life, there's been a fundamental wound, let's say, of not feeling heard. And it seems to be correlated to this dynamic of listening. And I started to realize that the reason I didn't feel heard was because I wasn't listening to myself, first and foremost. So the first thing I discovered is that listening begins with me. It's listening to all the parts of me that had something to say, even if those things didn't make sense to me. And listening begins in silence. It begins when I stop trying to do and trying to make happen. So, in a sense, it's receptive, but it's also very active because there's a presence to it. And that presence is like a form of vulnerability for me. Like I'm opening my whole self up and bearing witness in the process. So that was the first key for me is start with listening to me. If all relationships are inside of me, then the listening process is something that's going on inside of me. And usually the people who are not particularly good at listening are not particularly aware of what's going on within them because they're not into listening to themselves. So if you're getting a lot of feedback, like, oh, I don't feel like you're listening to me, or I don't feel like you're absorbing that, or something like that, a lot of that is there may be parts of you that you're not fully embracing or fully aware of, or you haven't fully given voice to. The second key that I discovered in my process of learning about listening is that listening is a complete action. Oftentimes, most people come into a conversation and listening is a means to an end. Listening is something that I do so that I pay the price necessary so that I can be heard. So I'm going to listen to what you say so that I can then explain to you why you're wrong or something like that. But if listening is itself complete, it has a wholeness to it, and there's a quiet that comes over us. And listening itself can become very healing. Just the act of listening to a person without agenda, without anything in our consciousness other than this person. And um, interestingly enough, I learned a lot about listening, observing Mr. Rogers, like Fred Rogers, growing up. He had this quietness about him. Like it seemed like he could listen forever to anybody about anything. And then I started reading about his life, and a lot of people were very touched just by his capacity to listen to them. You know, random strangers would walk up to him and they would feel so healed just because he was listening. And so I started having this mantra in my consciousness. And I don't practice it really well, especially with like people who live in my house, because they're the ones who are always the most challenging. But I challenge myself to go, well, this person right in front of me, this person's the most important person in the whole world that I'm working with right now or that I'm listening to right now. Now, do I always do that perfectly? No, but it's an intention. If nobody in the whole world exists except for this person and the things that they're saying, it could even be a stupid thing or a thing that I don't think is that important if I'm in my mind. But if there is nothing else to compare to it, and this person's the only person in the whole world, and this is the only thing I'm ever hearing, then it really is the very best thing I've ever heard, most important thing. And this is the most important person. And I've never loved anybody this much. You see, it starts to become very, very big, and it starts to rip us open in our sensitivity and our vulnerability and our fullness. But if we're trying to get something out of the exchange or we have an agenda, that tends to interfere with that process. So the second key, right, listening is a complete action. The third for me with listening is what am I bringing to the table? I started a practice when I go into meetings with people. I really always try to consciously say my first item on the agenda is loving this person. First item on the agenda is to love them. Because most of the time, what I think a meeting is for is mistaken. Oh, I'm having a meeting with so and so because they needed feedback about such and such, and I'm giving them the feedback, and then they're going to improve it and whatever. But then I come to the meeting and I realize there's this entire other spiritual dynamic going on that I would have completely missed if I had just said, this is a transactional interaction and I'm here to fix your work, and then we're going to go our separate ways and you're going to go fix it. The point of the meeting might have just been that they needed to feel loved, or the point of the meeting might have been that they were going to teach me something. So, what am I bringing to the table for me is, am I bringing in a programmed hierarchy of our relationship? Am I projecting something on that? Am I assuming that I'm to teach them something or they're to teach me something? Am I somehow programming the relationship in a way that's blocking the blessing that's already present or the greater awareness that's available to me? And part of that, what do you bring to the table, is also just clearing, because oftentimes we don't think about proactively looking on our calendar, looking at the meeting, putting that loving, putting that light, clearing, doing whatever we got to do so that I know that I've done my part. Look, somebody might be bringing their own karma to the meeting and they might be trying to program it. Most karmas are like dancing a tango, you know. You kind of, it takes two, right? You gotta, I don't, I'm not really an expert in tango. Maybe it only takes one to tango, but from what I understand, it takes two. So if the person is trying to dance with you and you didn't bring, you've completely cleared the deck and you're just open there smiling at them, loving them, and they have this whole argument ready and they're like, we're going to argue right now. And then it's the oddest thing in the world coming into that meeting. And the person just kind of goes flat and they go like, well, you just, and then you're like, what? And then it just evaporates. And that whole argument you were supposed to have in that meeting goes away. And then you get to really hear what's going on underneath the argument, which is what you'd have to spend hours getting to anyway through all the processing. Now you can clear all of that in advance, you can get all of that ready, and then all you're bringing to the table is your loving. I remember, um, I think one time I was driving in a van back from a retreat or something with Vance on, and he told me something like he wanted to do things in such excellence with JR that all that would be left was for them to love each other. I always thought that was so cool. I'm probably misquoting him. It's okay. He'll correct me in the chat. But nonetheless, it's this, if I do all the pre-work necessary to come to a meeting or an interaction in a real clear place, if all I have left to do is love the person and for them to love me and for us to be in loving and as one, that's quite a blessing. I think just to reemphasize a point I raised before, and maybe this is number four, is listening is an act of healing. When we truly listen, it's an act of healing. It is an act of healing for the listener, and it's an act of healing for the one who is listened to. So if we understand that we can listen medicinally, we can have a consciousness that says, okay, I'm listening. I'm listening to you for content because there's an engagement like we're engaging in this process and we're working out logistics. We're doing whatever we agreed to do intellectually. But understanding that each interaction is an opportunity to experience greater healing is very, very clear. And to me, that's really the goal with listening. And and in a sense, it becomes very selfish because it's like somebody might be paying me to work with them, but really, I'm just looking for my next experience of healing and knowing myself as divine. And so my listening, in a sense, is a selfish act because I'm going, well, I'm listening real close because I know that each word that you say is a healing action for me to the extent that I'm fully present in the listening. So it becomes this process of constantly being given opportunities to heal and remember ourselves to the Christ in this action. And there's a wonderful book that I really love. John Roger talked about it in a seminar, and it made me buy it and then read it. It's called The Listener by Taylor Caldwell. I don't know if you read it. You should read The Listener by Taylor Caldwell. It's
Will
very
do. Thank
moving.
you.
Um, but I can also gauge, listening, my own listening is usually a measure of my equilibrium and balance inside of me. Like my capacity to listen in the way that I'm describing is an indicator of how balanced I am inside of myself. When I'm out of balance, I tend to multitask. I tend to lose focus. I tend to get worried. I tend to get preoccupied. I tend to go into my head. When I'm real present with somebody, that means that I've got my house in order. And it's kind of like that for me in my house, we serve the Lord. There's that alignment, that spiritual marriage that starts to take place. When we're able to listen, it's an indicator that we're on track in that way. And do you have a specific area of listening that you wanted to ask about, or more generally? I don't know if I
Yeah,
addressed what you were
yeah, I
looking
wanted to
for.
ask you the general version first because I thought I just wanted to see what came forward, which was great.
Oh,
Uh, I did have a specific scenario of um, so I have a company that part of a component of what I do for my clients. So I have a group coaching thing. So kind of a format that's not too different from what we're doing now. It's like a Zoom call where they ask questions and I answer. And so I think you covered a lot of what I was wondering about for that context. I wonder, funny how that works, huh? And I think that I wonder, do you have anything to add to what you said about listening to a group of people as opposed to one-on-one?
yeah. Um, I think the discipline for me with groups of people is that there is no groups of people. There's just a collection of the one in front of me that I'm loving and serving. And the whole group thing is more of a mental thing that I do. And I
Hmm.
did leave out, I guess, number five is the important topper on the listening. To me, the most important listening is listening to your own soulic impulse and listening to the movement of spirit and the movement of loving as you perceive it. And sometimes that means you're going to say things that might not make sense right away. Like you could be on that call, getting asked questions about some technical issue that you know about, but what comes forward to say seems completely out of left field. And you go, oh my God, they're gonna break this agreement with me. I don't want, they're gonna fire me as a client, like, you know what I mean? But part of listening is the discipline to listen to that movement of spirit. And sometimes you'll say things that make no sense. And then it turns out they make all the sense in the world. You were just tuning into what that specific person needed to hear, or maybe a group of people needed to hear. I mean, I've said things on the talk where, immediately after, go, oh my God, what the hell did I just say? And then later on, I get texts from people going like, oh, thank God you said that. That really helped. And I was like, oh, okay, good. Because I was just saying what I was told to say. And when I said it, I went, whoa, that sounds weird. So that's I guess the topper is something like the most important listening that we do is listening to the expression of our own divinity or be God listening.
And the question I have around that is how to do that better. One thing, the answer I get inside of me when I answer that is to do SCs more. Like that would, that would help develop that capacity more.
Sure.
Is
Because SEs can serve as SEs can serve as a mechanism for building light units, but it can also be like if you're trying to tune your instrument and you're using a tuning fork, you do SCs, you kind of hit that tuning fork nice and hard so you can hear it. If you are out in the world, the tuning fork may still be going, but you're not going to hear it amidst all the noise. So we close the exterior senses and we go inward and start to chant, which is like hitting that tuning fork in a quiet room, and then all of a sudden you can tune up the instrument really easily. So the more you can do the spiritual exercises, the more reference points you will have for your more authentic beingness. But even in the context of quote unquote doing that more, you can go back to the other thing I said, which is what are you bringing to the table? What's to stop you from going down the entire list of people that are attending that said that they're going to attend your talk and asking for the light to bless each one, asking for the Christ and enter to clear the space of the talk, asking for, you can have a more spiritual or esoteric approach to doing very mundane physical things. You can write your agenda, but then you can check energetically, okay, does this harmonize with the highest frequency available for this? See, it might not be that you have to be this soothsayer who can pull in information from Lord knows where. Maybe all you need to do is integrate that kind of spiritual focus into the very mundane preparations that you do. Act as if the extraordinariness of spiritual awareness is part of your ordinariness of your routine. Like I just said, part of your routine adds, is this agenda topic energetically clear? Is there something to clear on this? Is there something I'm missing? Is there some spiritual assistance available in that process? You see, you don't need to be like crazy intuitive whatever to do all of that. You just need to ask the questions. And the problem is when you're in, or I guess the challenge is when you're in a mental processing, bobbing and weaving information organizational approach, you don't tend to ask those questions. So much in the way I said, okay, I put as my first agenda item, I will often literally write on my version, love the person at the top of my agenda. I'll print out the agenda I give to everybody and I will write, love the person at the top of mine. Because some part of it starts to integrate it into the basic self and otherwise like, oh, this is what we're here to do. But we can have very radical approaches to very simple, mundane things. Like I do on my email inbox, I have two folders. I don't do any of that crazy because there's, most email clients are very good at searching for emails, so you don't necessarily need a million folders. I have complete and I have clear. And complete is for when there's nothing more for me to do, and clear is for when something is triggering about the email or there's something incomplete energetically. I put it in the clear folder and I send loving and light to the clear folder all day. This is very like practical, boring, funny, crazy stuff that I do to manage my consciousness. So there's a way in which you can integrate a little bit more of that lovely woo-woo stuff that we do into the very mundane and technical realities that you have to work with. And it's not that they conflict. It's like render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's and unto God that which is God's. I know a chiropractor who does the craziest clearings. He does the craziest, most out there woo-woo clearings with me. And when he fills out the paper, he says adjusted C7T1, adjust it. It's just a normal, on paper, it is a normal chiropractic adjustment. Why? Because somebody might need to submit that to insurance. If he ever gets sued, somebody's going to look at that paper. So I'm not telling you to write all the woo-woo out on a piece of paper. I'm saying the two aren't in conflict. You meet people at the level that they are. So if you're working with people who don't have space in their consciousness right now for spiritual inner awareness, for whatever reason, you give them the words and the concepts that are comfortable to them. They don't need to know that you're working all these other levels. Think of it like a user illusion in computer science.
Mm.
Like we're interacting with the user illusion right now. We don't need to know how many ones and zeros and crazy things are going on in the background just to make this possible. And yet we have very, very easy to work with spatiotemporal metaphors and flashing lights and stuff that makes us think we're seeing humans. It's wonderful. You can be the same to your clients. You can give them everything they need to feel comfortable with what you do, but you can be working all these spiritual levels. And again, you're asking like, how do I make the intuition do this? And you don't make anything do anything. It's just the intuition will come when it comes, but in the meantime, act as if this intuitive dimension is just a normal part of your boring life in a good way. I mean, I don't say like your life's probably wonderful, but I'm saying like I love I love the ordinariness of it. Clearing to me is like brushing my teeth, and taking a shower to me is kind of a sacred act at this point. But you can have that kind of fun with all of it. I can remember John Roger telling that he told that one story. It was like he needs to go get a lead pencil in the kitchen, but then he keeps forgetting when he gets to the kitchen. He forgets what he was going to get, and then he sits back down. He's, oh shoot, I need a pencil, and then he goes back to the kitchen. And he forgets. So finally, he carries the chair into the kitchen, and they're like, and everyone's like, "What are you doing, Jared?" He's like, "Well, the memory's in the chair, so I brought the chair to the kitchen because I keep forgetting." Like, there's a practicality to it, and it's okay that it's somewhat supernatural. And you could just make it part of your version of ordinary. And I think that's what we're actually asked to do. Because the second we build an altar to something and we make something special, the negative power goes, oh, so you like specialness, do you? And then all of a sudden, we get to know what discomfort feels like.
Well, that was really valuable to me. Yeah, thank you very much, Jeffrey.
My pleasure. Stephen, can't hear you right now. Still can't hear you.
There, you hear me now?
Hi, I can
Hi
hear you
there.
now.
Okay,
Hi.
great. Hello there. I loved the class last night, the spiritual alchemy
Oh,
class. That was wonderful. You
nice.
look great, and you're all duded up there for the wedding. That was nice. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's been a while since I shared um, something that's kind of a lifelong process, but there have been many, many incidents in my life where I feel that I've been spared from death or serious bodily injury. And a lot of these between 9 and 11, 9 years old and 11 years old. There was a situation where I didn't know how to swim, and I'm in a pool, and I'm really starting to drown. And a voice says, "Go over to the side." And I went over to the side to save myself. What I thought about was, this is God doing this. Another time, was playing on stairs. There's like 13 stairs going up to the second floor. was maybe on the fourth stair and I fell backwards. I do not know how to do a somersault, but I landed on my feet and I thought, God saved me. There was another time, another pool incident where I didn't know how to dive. So I jump off a diving board, but instead of going forward, I go backwards and I miss the concrete wall by a fraction of an inch. Again, I'm thinking, God spared me. And another time between those ages, I had a head on car crash. I'm laying on the ground. I'm screaming, I'm dying. Uh, Again, I feel that I possibly could have died. Maybe it was a point of salvation, but again, I'm thinking God spared me. And this has happened all through my life, but those are the most prominent. So the question is, did God spare me? Is there a reason that I had these incidents? Is to know that God is with me? Is it superstition? Just wanted to see if you can give any
Hmm.
comment.
It is interesting, right? This interplay between karma, destiny, divine intervention, all of that sort of thing. In a sense, we could say, does it really matter? Because out of God comes all things. So out of God came the near-death experience, and out of God came you being saved. So in a sense, yeah, God was behind all of it. To be sure, and I've heard John Roger talk about this as well, is there are specific windows where certain things can occur in people's lives. So for example, uh, my mother, bless her heart, was told that after my baby blessing, because of what occurred at the baby blessing, I could go at any time, or I could stay for many, many years to assist other people. At a certain point, she reached, she goes back out, well, JR, I haven't slept in the last year and a half, so is it gonna happen? Is he gonna, you know, is he gonna leave? And then JR said something like, the window has closed.
Oh,
And I've actually heard reference to that on various occasions. Although we are divine beings and we are subject now, if we're smart, to the Christ plan that's put in place that allows our soul to return its reference point in awareness to the soul realm. We're still subject to things like gravity and the cycles of karma that were set up on this planet. So what that means is there's specific windows where things can and can't occur. And you could call those, in a sense, fields of probability. So it may be that there was an option for you to leave the planet, or it may be the karma was very, very clear. This person is going to have near misses, and this person is going to be fine. Now, that may have been part of your curriculum meant to teach you that God is with you. But the funny part is, God is with you regardless. So there's a whole bunch of other people that haven't had near misses because they didn't really need that curriculum. They didn't need to learn that way.
okay.
It could have been that you spent a lot of lifetimes as kind of a stubborn individual, and the soul agreed with the high self and the basic self. Okay, we're gonna have to shake this into him a couple of times, and then he really will not question the existence of God, and he'll really go ahead and take this opportunity because he's banged his head against a wall all these other lifetimes with these other things, and now he's finally getting a real swing at this. So we're gonna make sure his ego doesn't get in the way. So we're gonna make sure he knows he's mortal. These are all things, these are all things that can be set up prior to your birth. Just like working with the mystical traveler, for many people set up prior to their birth. Does that make them any less miraculous or beautiful? Would the Holy Spirit be any less with you if you left the planet in one of those or if you stayed?
Not at all.
Exactly. So for me, I think those experiences are, to me, the two are not mutually exclusive. oh my God, God saved me. And oh my God, I have interesting karma that brings me these experiences where I almost die. Because at the end of the day, we are saved by the grace of God. It is the grace of God that allows us to have this direct relationship through the sound current and into the heart of God. It is the grace of God that allows us to have ever met someone like John Roger. It's the grace of God that allows us to even have access to the sound current. So, in that sense, I don't think it's superstition. I think it's a very useful mechanism in your karma for reminding you, hitting you upside the head and saying, hey, guess what? You're a divine being having a human experience, and there's divine orchestration in your experience.
And a lot of these came in, as I said, between 9 and 11. They're the most profound memories. If that was the ages that I needed to make the decision to stay and pursue.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And the fact that it's happening around the same ages implies that there was some kind of a window there. And
Well,
you chose to say, and
especially the time I'm laying on the ground. And somebody had told me not too many years ago that that was an opening. When I had the car crash and I split my head open, that I could have left, and they said there was angelic intervention. Um, the driver of the car says he put his hand out and I hit his hand rather than the dashboard. But all I know, I was screaming, I'm dying. I'm laying on the ground with blood coming out of my head, screaming, I'm dying. So maybe there was a part of me that might have been attuned to that possibility. Um,
yeah, and again, even if there was angelic intervention, I've never seen any force within this creation that violates. I mean, even Jesus Christ said, I didn't come here to break the law, I came here to fulfill it. So I don't, it would have to have been authorized. It would have to have been cleared for that to happen, from my
okay.
understanding. As far as you talking about like windows and decision points for sure, but that kind of an incident would have been orchestrated for you to be given that decision.
I personally
And
think
I
a whole
th
level of karma came in at that point.
and that's the other thing I was going to say. It's like, what is the price? What price are we willing to pay for the pearl of great price of soul transcendence? And some people in the movement, they they might have been near death when John Roger met them. I know of several cases where John Roger met the person, they were nearly dead. He claims he didn't do anything. They somehow miraculously survived, and then they've been studying with him ever since. And great karmic debts at times have to be paid. Souls like us, a lot of the souls of people in the movement of spiritual inner awareness have accrued a lot of extra points in the karmic, in the karma game through years of hard effort. And so sometimes it really takes an intense convergent experience to complete some of that so that they can get it all done in one lifetime and go home to the heart of God. And that's the grace. I mean, we say, "Oh, traveler, oh, mystical traveler, please, I would like to go home in one lifetime." We beg and pray and beg and pray. And the traveler says, great, I'm going to line it up so that you can do that. But that may mean that you have to get sick for a period of time, or that may mean you have to have a near-death experience in a car wreck, or that may mean there's there's people I know who've had to go through terrible, terrible difficulties clearing horrendous amounts of karma. And it's like, oh, why don't you fix this? Why don't you fix this, traveler? But the truth of the matter is, that was the fix. They were transcending insane amounts of karma, lifetimes of karma, with that period of being sick, which is lining things up so they go straight to the heart of God when they die, when they drop the body. So it can be orchestrated in such beautiful ways. But make no mistake, it's like it's not there can be, I've seen reprieves from the karmic board and I've seen interventions from the mystical traveler, but it's usually within the field allowable by the karma itself. And I'm just telling you what I perceive. There's going to be people who are probably on a different level than me who might tell you something different, but what I've seen is the law isn't necessarily broken, it's fulfilled in a more graceful process. So that could be in the sleep state, or that could be the living traveler will take some of the karma onto themselves, or the traveler consciousness will hold the influence of the karma off a person. So they have to walk through it. So they still have to eat the karma. Like they might have a disease and it goes dormant for 50 years. So they have to complete the karma by having this deadly, horrible disease in their body for a period of time. But instead of dying or being horribly debilitated, the virus goes dormant and nobody can explain why. That kind of thing. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Or another one I've seen is the traveler will there'll be a lump in a woman's breast, for example, and they'll say, "Oh, that was to be a cancer, but we've changed the karma slightly, like we've changed the shifted the energy, shifted the karma, and then it becomes a fibroadenoma, and it becomes like just a lump, a benign mass that has to be removed. So the surgery had to take place to fulfill the karma. The mass had to exist to fulfill the karma, but it didn't have to be malignant. Do you understand?
Do.
So it's not a process of get out of jail free, because why would we want to do that? There's no such, it's like if we really got out of jail free, did we get the learning? Did we complete the karma, or did we just put it back into the reserve of millions and millions of karmas that we've accrued? No, I think the optimal solution is to walk joyfully through our karmas with the grace of the traveler upon us, so that if we are to pay this debt, we pay it joyfully and we pay it with loving. And when we have these convergent moments, it's like as easy as it is, oh, it's chance, it's divine intervention. But why would there need to be divine intervention if it's so perfectly orchestrated by the traveler since before you were born? Every second of your life, when you're to work with the mystical traveler, would be so beautifully orchestrated. And all we have to do is put one foot in front of the other. I've heard the most ridiculous stories about how people found this work. Just like hilarious stories, miracles of perfect timing type of stories. And some of them involved near-death experiences, and others involved really hilarious coincidences where somebody's a total mess in their life, and then all of a sudden they're in a seminar and they can't explain why. They just happen to be at the right place at the right time. And it's like I'm sure if you look out on the group, you're going to see a bunch of nodding heads go, like, oh, yeah, that was me. I was a complete fuck up. And then I got this thing in the mail and it was to the wrong address, but I opened it anyway because I like breaking federal law. And it was an invitation to a seminar. So I went to the seminar and I've been an MSA ever since. And there's like a ridiculous amount of those stories in the movement of spiritual inner awareness.
I
I
can
love
relate.
them. They're hilarious.
I was
Karma's funny.
site training in the early 80s, and one of my friends said, go to the back and sign up for discourses. I go, what is a discourse? What does that mean? She goes, oh, you'll love it. Just go sign up. And I signed up. I didn't look back, but I didn't even know what I was doing back. But I took the enthusiasm of this person and went for it. So yeah, it's worked, and I think those experiences just brought an emotional part to me, that a feeling of protection. Like I was very kind of mental. I didn't really feel like there was a presence of God, but that brought like a feeling part in. Oh, I'm protected. And there is a God. I think that brought another dimension to my learning.
Yeah, what a gift. What a gift to be given early in life.
A lot of
And
time that between those 9 and 11, there's so many of those incidents. And but
Yeah.
I knew what God was. I didn't have no one had to explain it to me. It just reassured me. I was the one who came up with this is God saving me. So or saving me, or but that's what I thought as a child, you know. So it was a very warm feeling that hey, I'm in the arms of God, I guess. It's very beautiful.
And the truth is, experiences or not, you were always in the arms of God, but now you have some evidence of that, which is very, very powerful.
Thank you for illuminating this situation. I really appreciate it.
Well, I hope that helps. I'm certainly, this is just a perspective, and I hope that you check it out for yourself and whatever reveals itself to you, I know it'll be perfect.
Thank you so much, my brother. I appreciate it.
God bless you.
God bless you too. Take care.
Mary.
Hello. Um, I need, I would like some reframing, some help around a simple thing, which is blessing. And I always visualized it as I take my soaker gun full of love and light, and I pick someone and I point it at them, right? And I pick them. But say I bless my neighbor, my ego mind says, "Ooh, you gave her the spiritual candy bar, but you didn't give it to the other neighbor. Like you got to step it up. Like it's not fair." And that's the larger thing is the belief that it's proof that the world isn't fair, that there isn't enough. And it's like, so I know that's not true, but I need to kind of reframe. Like, what is a blessing? And if the blessings already are, do I understand that to mean that as soon as someone asks for a blessing, it's in that moment it already exists, or is it that the person has the blessing but they're not aware of it and it's praying for their awareness? Like, I'm anything that you can help me with that, I'd appreciate.
Well, I definitely think that your mind isn't helping you with that.
Exactly.
So, look, for my part, all of what you just shared became a lot easier when I really took to heart that all relationships are inside of me. Because then I thought to myself, because the oddness, right, is, or the peculiar reality is that the more work I do on the part of me that is the other person that I experience, the more they seem to benefit from that. And I can't explain why. Other than we are all connected, we are all one. There's the entirety of existence is expressed within ourselves. The inner kingdom of heaven as a microcosm of the outer kingdom of heaven, and that we are all one at the level of the soul. So, in a sense, if I relate to that neighbor as simply a part of me that needs my assistance, need my support, that's crying out for that, and then I do that and I heal, then the entire universe heals with me. There really is no separation. But peace begins with me. If I just start with my own process and I love my neighbor as myself, not at the same level as myself, not in the same way as myself, but if I really love myself, love my neighbor as myself, then with each moment that I experience greater healing, loving, and awareness of divinity within me, that awareness ripples through the entirety of existence. I would just experiment. All the things that are tangled up in your head about sending light and what's sending light and whatever, if you just say, maybe that exists, maybe that doesn't exist, I'm just going to go within and I'm going to start to love all the parts of me that are the people that I know in the world. Then you just witness how things start to heal, how things start to move. you start to see the miracles occur that you can't explain. And then you could wonder, oh, wow, did sending light within myself to them inside of me, did that have an effect outside of me? And am I just doing like, am I doing that or am I causing? And it's like, it doesn't matter. None of that matters. There was, yeah, there was a loving each day today, which is kind of like, I wonder if I could find it. I received it and I loved it. But let me just see. One thing you can do is see people and love them. In loving them, your love comes alive, and in the love, you find the Spirit of the Lord, and in the Spirit of the Lord, you find the Lord. It works that way over and over and over again. And then here's the other one from yesterday, which I liked even more. You must not look to other people and say, they're hurting me, they're inflicting upon me, they're psychically attacking me. Instead, bless them and send them love, for they point up the areas within you that need greater strength. And love everything that comes to you. Love it all and let it go. Whether it's yours or someone else's, it just doesn't matter. And I think that final line for me is the most important. I spent all these years saying, well, what if it's somebody else's, or what if it's mine, or did they attack me, or and what if I'm blessing this person and that person? What if it just doesn't matter? Every second you spend loving the one in front of you, the one inside of you, the one you perceive, that part of you, is another second the universe is loving. So that's how I relate to that.
Wow. No, that last one just totally flipped it around. That when I'm blessing someone, I'm actually saying thank you. Takes apart that idea that they're out there and I'm doing something for them. It's like, no,
You're
no.
just blessing you, but you're all
Right,
of it. The whole
right,
universe is within you. So bless the part of you that is them, and you're
right.
blessing the only then them that you've ever known anyway.
True, true.
So then it just becomes a process of self-healing and spiritual ecology because you get to be one more beacon of loving and light on the planet, not because you send things away, but because you clean up your own environment and the
Mhm.
Spirit can flow through you like a river of joy flowing to the city of God.
Beautiful. Thanks. Was what I needed to hear.
All right, cool. All right. For bonus points, Marcia, what's up?
It's a quick, thank you, Jeffrey. I appreciate the bonus points. I appreciate you. It's a quick question on seeding. I don't have a lot
Okay.
of experience in seeding for a
Okay.
specific thing. So if you put out a seed, do you have to charge it like you charge affirmations? Do you just put it out and let it go? I don't know. Like I seeded for
Yeah.
something. I was specific, but like with affirmations, the more you say it, the more it affects it, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, so with seeding, I definitely suggest letting it go immediately. It's like for me, seeding is very much it's in God's hands now. So I put the
Okay.
energy, so money is to me representative of energy and intention,
Mhm.
right? You've put the energy and attention out, you've stated your preference, you've said this or something better for the highest good of all concerned, and now it's in God's court. But seeding to me, to be perfectly honest, is more of a medicinal practice, the way I relate to it. You see, the consciousness that participates in this world is a multiplicity of intentions and thoughts and relationships and beliefs and all the other junk that we acquire over years and years of the fun that we have on this planet. So we may say verbally, I really want to fill in the blank, but we've got all these other intentions going all over the place. What I noticed is when I seed, it's like there's like an alignment or like a call to attention where all these parts of me that would normally be in disarray and disharmony just kind of lock into alignment. And they go, no, God first. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all else will be added unto you. So when you do that action of, to me, seeding is very much that action of seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all else will be added unto you, is a very visceral, grounded, multidimensional expression of that intention. So what I often do is seeding will start an energetic motion that will start the clearing process in the lower levels and the alignment process that will make us more available to that which we have, the seed that we have planted. Now, me personally, I don't actually seed for physical things in the world.
Okay.
For me, most of the time, I seed for parts of me to feel better or for things to feel lighter or for me to have the strength to walk through what I need to walk through. And if you're going to seed, I mean, for me, I seed for essence rather than form. So if I'm looking to buy a house or something, I might seed for experiencing an even deeper experience of home while I'm here on this planet until I can enter my real home through SCs and then through the passage into spirit. But having that intention means that I've freed up the playing field to say, you know what, God, you know this better than me. I
Yeah.
trust you. I'm giving you the seed and planting it, but I know you're the gardener. I know you're the one that's going to be the one that provides everything that it needs to grow and bear fruit. It's very, very powerful. I
Mm.
once seeded, I've told the story of seeding to be okay with making mistakes and the
Yeah.
insane experiences that I had, but it worked. For better or for worse, money is a very powerful, energetic unit on this planet that, as I said, represents intention and energy, intention and
And
time, intention. And so when you put it in that direction, you
yeah,
feel it on a lot of different levels. It's very potent.
I completely understand about the intention. It's the physical. I've never seated for a physical thing before. So when you say intention, that lines up 100% because that intention is the integrity of it, is the that I line up with.
But I
I'm
think
out of my comfort
But
zone.
I think if you're seeding for a physical object, you're also giving, it's almost like you have the awareness and wherewithal to say, I put a lot of form on this in my mind, and I've gotten some attachment level going to this.
Yes,
Either I'd like it to manifest or I'd like to give it up to you, Lord. I think that's a very smart approach, which
that
is
makes sense to me.
which is like,
Yes, thank
here
you.
you go, God, this or something better. And if it's not for my highest good, this is me giving it to you. I'm no longer going to obsess over this. You got this.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
But I think seeding is such an incredible gift in that regard. Like, what a powerful energy field that we can work with. And so many applications. So helpful. You can seed for relationship stuff. You can seed for physical objects. You can seed for physical health. You can seed for the wildfires and all the repair and all the stuff that's being it is such a and the beautiful part of it is the more you do it, the more it'll become like a code or a shorthand to God's got this. And the second you do it, it'll be like this freedom takes over and goes, "Oh, okay, got it. God's got this. I've seeded." But sometimes you'll get an intuition later that goes, "You know what? I'm gonna need to put a little bit more money in there." I listen to that because sometimes that's just what I asked for needs a little bit more juice from my energy field. Like I said, for better or for worse, the coin of the realm down here happens to be that. On other levels, it's different energy fields, but money is that physical, potent expression of intention and life force. So we're putting it in that direction. It starts to really move the consciousness.
And that I put an intention for something that costs a lot of money, and what it's broken loose inside of me is issues about money, and maybe that's the healing in and of itself. That's
A
the gift of the
hundred
seed.
percent.
That's the
Exactly.
gift of the
Most of
seed.
the time, for me, the gift of the seed is everything it kicks up by me doing it. Because usually
Yeah.
what'll happen is it becomes this powerful field of prayer. But then God says, okay, it is clear for me to give this to you, but here's all the junk you've put in the way of what you've asked for. Are you willing to eat all that junk? And you go, okay, I'll eat all that junk. I did the seed. I'm willing. And then you eat all of that junk for a couple months, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's like right when you've let it go and gone, oh, I really don't care about the thing. There it is. Because we get the freedom. We get the gift of receiving what we ask for in a way that is for our highest good, which means no, if I just gave you the thing you're asking for, you wouldn't learn anything, would you? You wouldn't be any more free than you are. But now that you've asked for the thing that's very expensive and it's kicked up all the stuff, you're going to clear everything that's needed to clear in order to be receptive to what you asked for.
Yeah. Oh, God bless you, Jeffrey, because that literally cleared the thing for me. Thank you for the bonus time. I want you to go eat dinner. Thank you very much for your time. God bless you.
All right, God bless you. Happy birthday, Judea. I just saw in the chat. All right, everyone. God bless you. I love you. The blessings are already are. And stay safe.
Love you, Jeffrey.